My name is Tessa Morgan. I'm 28 years old. And on Valentine's Day, I gave my boyfriend the most honest gift he had ever received. Nothing. By midnight, I was single. Honestly, it was worth it. I had been with Mason Reed, 26, for 2 years. In the beginning, his little tests seemed almost playful. If I failed to notice that he had trimmed his beard, he would smile and ask, "Do you even look at me anymore?" If I took longer than 10 minutes to answer a text, he would send another one. Guess I know where I rank. I used to apologize. I used to explain that I had been driving, working, showering, or simply living a life that did not involve staring at my phone every second. Eventually, I realized explanations never mattered. Mason did not want reassurance. He wanted proof that I could anticipate his feelings before he expressed them. Gift giving was the worst. Before every birthday, Christmas, anniversary, or holiday, I would ask him what he wanted. Nothing. He would say, "Are you sure? If you really knew me, you wouldn't have to ask." Then I would panic and buy something thoughtful. Whatever I chose was always wrong. A watch was too formal. Concert tickets were proof that I cared more about experiences than his actual needs. A leather jacket was the wrong shade of brown. Headphones were too expensive. Which apparently meant I was trying to purchase forgiveness for problems I had not known existed. He returned almost everything. After our second Christmas together, I bought him a $400 watch. He had stopped to admire 3 times at the mall. When he opened it, he frowned. "I told you I hated this brand. You pointed it out every time we passed the display." "No." I said the design was desperate. 2 weeks later, I noticed a refund on our shared credit card statement. He had returned the watch for cash and bought sneakers. When I confronted him, he said, "I never told you I wanted that watch." That was when I started recording our gift conversations. Not to trap him, not to humiliate him. I needed proof that I was not losing my mind. 3 weeks before Valentine's Day, I tried to get ahead of the problem. We were sitting on the couch while Mason scrolled through his phone. I muted the television and asked, "Valentine's Day is coming. Is there anything you'd like?" He barely looked up. "Why do you always ask? It ruins the romance." "I'm asking because I want to get you something you'll actually enjoy. If you paid attention, you'd already know." 2 weeks before Valentine's Day, I tried again while we were making dinner. "Have you seen anything you like lately?" Mason dropped the knife onto the cutting board. "Are you seriously asking about Valentine's Day again?" "I'm just trying to avoid another misunderstanding. I told you I don't want anything." "Are you sure?" "Yes." Tessa. Stop asking. I want nothing." Then he looked directly at me and spoke slowly, as though I were a child. "Nothing. Do you understand?" My phone was recording from the kitchen counter. 1 week before Valentine's Day, Mason's best friend Caleb stopped me outside our apartment building. "So," Caleb said, grinning, "what are you getting, Mason?" He said he wants nothing. Caleb laughed so loudly that a woman walking her dog turned around. "You know, he doesn't mean that." He was extremely clear. "Come on. Tessa. He's been sending me pictures of that Hamilton watch for weeks." I stared at him. "What watch?" Caleb pulled out his phone and showed me a stainless steel watch with a blue face. The price beneath it was $300 before tax. "He thinks you noticed him looking at it online. He never showed it to me. He says he shouldn't have to." There it was again. The test. I thanked Caleb, went home, and ordered the watch that night. I even visited the store the following afternoon to choose a different strap, because Mason once mentioned that metal links pinched his wrist. The sales associate helped me select a leather one and wrapped everything in a silver box. The gift sat hidden in my closet for 4 days. Every time I saw it, I felt the same pressure in my chest. I pictured Mason opening it and smiling. Then I pictured him finding something wrong. The brand, the strap, the price. The fact that I had needed Caleb's help 2 nights before Valentine's Day. Mason curled beside me and rested his head on my shoulder. Caleb's girlfriend booked them a table at that new French restaurant. He said, "That sounds nice." And Devin surprised Amy with roses at work. Also nice. He waited. When I said nothing else, he sighed. Some people know how to make an occasion feel special. I looked down at him. Do you want to go somewhere for Valentine's Day? His expression hardened. I already told you I don't want anything. Why are you making this difficult? That was the moment something inside me became very still. The next morning, I took the wrapped watch out of the closet, placed it in my car, and drove to work. Valentine's Day arrived on a Friday. Mason woke before his alarm and checked his phone repeatedly during breakfast. He dressed more carefully than usual, using the expensive cologne I had given him for our anniversary, the one gift he had not returned. When I entered the kitchen, he leaned against the counter with an expectant smile. "Happy Valentine's Day," he said. "Happy Valentine's Day." He waited for flowers, a card, a box, or some dramatic announcement. Nothing came. After a few seconds, he laughed nervously. "So, do we have anything special planned? You said you wanted nothing, so I respected that." His smile disappeared. "What do you mean? You were very clear. You wanted nothing for Valentine's Day." His face shifted through confusion, disbelief, and finally, anger. "You're joking." "I'm not. You know I didn't mean literally nothing." "How would I know that?" "Because you're my girlfriend. That doesn't make me a mind reader." Mason folded his arms. "If you loved me, you would know what I wanted. You told me what you wanted. You said nothing." "You're twisting my words." "No. I'm finally taking them seriously." His eyes filled with tears. But they were not wounded tears. They were furious, humiliated tears. "You're doing this to punish me." "I'm doing this because I'm tired of being tested." "Say what you mean, or accept the meaning of what you say." He grabbed his phone and began typing. Within minutes, notifications started lighting up his screen. He had told Caleb, Ame, Devin, his sister Natalie, and probably half his contact list. He shoved the phone toward me. Caleb had written, "She seriously got you nothing." Amy had replied, "On Valentine's Day. That's cold." Another message read, "You deserve someone who makes an effort. Show them what you told me." I said. Mason pulled the phone back. "That isn't the point. It is the entire point." By noon, he had called his mother and his sister. Natalie called me while Mason sat across the room, listening. "What the hell happened?" she demanded. "Mason says you deliberately ruined Valentine's Day." "Did he tell you?" He repeatedly said he wanted nothing. He didn't mean it. How was I supposed to know? It's common sense. "Is it?" I opened the recording and played Mason's voice. "I want nothing. Nothing. Do you understand?" Natalie went silent. Finally, she said, "You recorded him." I started recording after Christmas because he denied conversations we both remembered. "That's actually understandable." Mason stood up. "You're both insane." Natalie exhaled. "Dessa. You still could have gotten him something, so he could return it, like the Christmas watch, the birthday jacket, and the anniversary headphones." Another silence. Mason ended the call himself. At 5 that evening, he appeared in the bedroom doorway wearing a pressed shirt. "What time is our reservation?" "What reservation?" "For dinner. You said you wanted nothing." "That didn't include dinner?" "Nothing generally includes nothing." His restraint finally broke. He shouted that I was cruel, petty, manipulative, and emotionally abusive. Then he posted a photograph of our dining table with the caption, "When she surprises you with an intimate dinner at home instead." There was no dinner. By 6, his friends were asking what I had cooked. He deleted the post. At 8, he stood in front of me with his hand extended. "Fine. You made your point. Give me the real gift." There is no gift. Stop lying. I'm not lying. You seriously bought me nothing. I thought about the silver box sitting in the trunk of my car. I gave you exactly what you requested. His voice dropped. If you don't give me a gift right now, we're done. I looked at him for a long moment. Then I nodded. Okay. He blinked. Okay, what? Okay. We're done. His face drained of color. You're breaking up with me on Valentine's Day. No. Mason. You just broke up with me. I didn't mean it. I picked up my keys. Another thing you didn't mean. Mason spent Valentine's night at his sister Natalie's apartment. He did not leave quietly. The next morning, I opened the filing cabinet in my home office and found the bottom drawer half empty. My tax documents were gone. So was my tablet. My gaming console had disappeared from beneath the television, along with every game stored beside it. At first, I thought Mason had packed the wrong things in anger. Then I received his message. I took what I'm owed for the emotional damage you caused. I called immediately. Mason, bring my tax documents back. I don't have them. They were in a locked filing cabinet. Then prove I took them. The coldness in his voice unsettled me more than the theft itself. Those documents contain my social security number and financial information. Keeping them could be treated as identity theft. You recorded me without permission. We live in a one-party consent state. The recordings were legal. Taking financial records is not. He left. You wouldn't call the police on me. Try me. He hung up. I called Natalie next. Your brother took my tax documents, my tablet, and my console. He has 1 hour to return everything before I report it stolen. She groaned like I was inconveniencing her. He's upset. Being upset doesn't turn theft into therapy. He thinks you humiliated him. He threatened to end the relationship. I accepted. You knew he didn't mean it. That sentence is exactly why we are finished. 45 minutes later, Mason arrived carrying a cardboard box. He dropped it onto the floor outside my apartment and stepped back. There. Happy. The tax papers were inside, but several pages had coffee stains across them. My tablet screen was cracked. The console was there, but every game cartridge was missing. I held up the damaged tablet. What happened? Mason shrugged. Accidents happen. So does small claims court. For the first time, his confidence flickered. You wouldn't. You keep saying that as though you know me better than I know myself. He stared at me, waiting for the familiar version of Tessa, the woman who apologized first, softened every consequence, and accepted blame simply to restore peace. That woman did not open the door. I carried the box inside and locked it behind me. Later that afternoon, my friend Jerome called. You might want to sit down, he said. Jerome trained at the same gym as one of Mason's co-workers, Hannah. According to her, Mason had spent weeks telling everyone in his office that I was planning an extravagant Valentine surprise. Not dinner, not a watch, Paris. He had told an entire department that I was flying him to Paris for Valentine's weekend, even though I had never mentioned traveling anywhere. On February 15th, Mason walked into work with no luggage, no photographs, and no romantic story. Hannah had smiled and asked, "How was Paris?" Mason apparently froze. We didn't go. Oh no. What happened? Tessa didn't plan anything. Nothing at all. I told her I wanted nothing, and she used it against me. That explanation did not earn the sympathy he expected. One of his coworkers, Beth, asked, "So you told her you wanted nothing, and now you're angry because she listened?" It wasn't supposed to be taken literally. Then why say it? Mason accused them of missing the point. Unfortunately for him, several women in the office had partners who were exhausted by the same kind of gift-giving games. They understood the point perfectly. Then Hannah remembered something else. Didn't you return the watch she gave you for Christmas? Mason had bragged about it in December. He had shown coworkers the sneakers he bought after returning my gift for cash. By lunch, the office had reconstructed the entire pattern without my help. He said he wanted nothing. I asked repeatedly. He refused to answer honestly. I gave him what he requested. Then he blamed me publicly. That evening, Mason posted that he had escaped a controlling relationship. He described me as manipulative, emotionally abusive, and obsessed with recording private moments. He did not mention why I had begun recording them. He did not mention the returned gifts or stolen documents. For a few hours, people comforted him. Then questions began appearing beneath the post. Did you actually tell her you wanted nothing? Why did you return all her gifts? Did you really take her tax paperwork? The post vanished before midnight. 2 days after our breakup, my friend Carlos sent me screenshots from Bumble. Mason's profile was already active. His bio said he had been single for months and was looking for a real woman who knew how to treat a king. Months. We had eaten breakfast together 4 days earlier. The photographs on his profile were almost funny. In one, he sat inside an expensive restaurant where I had paid the bill. In another, he stood at a concert after I had bought both tickets. His main picture came from a beach vacation I had planned, booked, and funded for our anniversary. He had cropped me out of every image, but kept the life I provided. Carlos asked whether I wanted him to report the profile. No, I said. Let Mason introduce himself. He did. His first date was with a woman named Paula. Mason later described the evening on social media, though he clearly expected strangers to support him. According to his own version, he told Paula that his abusive ex-girlfriend had deliberately gotten him nothing for Valentine's Day. Paula asked a simple question. Did you tell her what you wanted? Mason answered, if she loved me, she should have known. Paula put down her drink. That sounds like game playing. It's not a game. It's about emotional intelligence. I don't date people who test me. She left before their food arrived. Mason had to pay for both drinks and take a rideshare home. He posted that modern women were selfish and incapable of romance. By the end of the week, he had transformed himself into a victim for his friends, co-workers, relatives, and strangers online. But every version of the story had a flaw. The truth was documented. I had recordings of him insisting that he wanted nothing, credit card statements showing returned gifts, messages threatening a breakup, photographs of damaged property. His written claim that he had taken my belongings as compensation. He had spent 2 years teaching me to keep receipts. Now he was furious that I had them. The next escalation came from his cousin Diego. Diego called me late Sunday night. Mason is telling the family you financially abused him. I closed my eyes. What does that mean? He says, you controlled money by refusing to buy him gifts. I bought him gifts. He returned them. I know. That's why you need to hear what happened tonight. At a family dinner, Mason had cried while telling his grandmother that I never made him feel valued. His aunt asked whether he had returned my Christmas watch. Mason denied it. Diego did not argue. He unlocked his phone and showed everyone a photograph taken at the mall on December 27th. Mason stood at the jewelry counter with the $400 watch in front of him and cash in his hand. Then Diego showed them a payment request Mason had sent. Less than a week later, $200 for groceries because he was supposedly broke. The room went silent. His grandmother finally spoke. Mijo, you cannot return a woman's gifts for money and then cry because she stops buying them. Mason accused Diego of betraying him and stormed out. But before leaving, he made one desperate claim. Tessa never bought me anything for Valentine's Day. That proves she never cared. Diego repeated those words to me. I looked toward the closet, where the empty space remained from the silver gift box. Mason is wrong, I said. Then I opened my email and found the receipt for the watch he had almost received. I opened the email receipt and stared at it for a long time. $300. Purchased 12 days before Valentine's Day. I even remembered standing in the jewelry store while the sales associate patiently helped me compare 2 different leather straps. Because Mason had once complained that metal bracelets pinched his wrist, every detail had mattered to me. Apparently, honesty had not mattered to him. The following afternoon, I drove back to the same jewelry store. Not because I wanted the watch, because I wanted closure. The associate recognized me immediately. "You were here before Valentine's Day." "I was." She smiled politely. "I remember helping you choose the strap." I actually returned the watch the day after Valentine's clowned. Her expression changed. "Oh. You remember that too?" "Of course." She leaned against the counter before lowering her voice. "Can I tell you something?" I nodded. "The day before you came back, a man came into the store, asking whether his girlfriend had purchased a watch." My stomach tightened. "Mason. I don't know his name, but he described the woman who bought it. Brown hair. Green coat. Silver SUV. That was me. He kept insisting we tell him whether you had bought anything." "What did you say?" "I told him we couldn't release customer information." She gave a tired smile. "He didn't take that very well." "What happened?" "He became convinced we were protecting you." Security eventually escorted him outside. I couldn't decide whether to laugh or feel embarrassed. "He really did that." "I'm afraid so." She hesitated. "Between us, he'd actually been visiting the store for weeks." "Weeks?" "He tried that watch on several times." She pointed toward the display. "He kept telling us, 'My girlfriend is definitely buying this for Valentine's Day.'" I closed my eyes for a second. Of course he had. He had already written the ending of the story in his head. He wanted to unwrap the exact watch. He wanted to post photos online. He wanted everyone to admire how thoughtful I was. He just didn't want to tell me what he wanted. The associate opened a drawer. "I remember how excited you seemed picking everything out." "I was." "You spent nearly half an hour deciding between the straps." "I wanted it to be perfect." She looked genuinely sympathetic. "I'm sorry." So on. I left the store feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Not because Mason had embarrassed himself. Because I finally understood something. Nothing I bought would ever have been enough. If I had given him the watch, he would have found another reason to complain. The gift had never been the real issue. Control was. 2 days later, my phone buzzed. Carly, Mason's closest friend. She had added me to a group chat with 8 people. The messages were already flying. "Explain yourself. How could you humiliate Mason like that? Who gives their boyfriend nothing on Valentine's Day?" I read every message without replying. Then I uploaded 3 images. The first was the recording transcript. "I want nothing." "You sure?" "Yes." "Nothing." The second image was the purchase receipt for the Hamilton watch. The third was the return receipt dated February 15th. I finally typed one sentence. "I bought exactly what Mason wanted." I returned it after deciding to respect what he repeatedly told me. 5 minutes passed. Nobody wrote anything. Then Amy finally replied, "Wait. You actually bought the watch? Before Valentine's Day?" "Yes." Another silence. Then Caleb wrote what everyone else was thinking. "So he lied to all of us." Someone else added, "He told us you never bought anything." Another message appeared. "He literally said, you didn't even try." Carly stopped typing altogether. Finally, Amy sent another message. "We've told Mason for years to stop making people guess. On a B1. The notifications stopped. A few seconds later, Mason left the conversation. Then Carly removed everyone. Less than 10 minutes afterward, Amy messaged me privately. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "We all believed him." "It's okay." "No. It's really not." She paused before sending another message. "He always turns everything into a test. We've just gotten used to it." That sentence stayed with me. People had adjusted themselves around Mason for so long that they no longer noticed how exhausting his behavior had become. They simply accepted it. I never wanted to do that again. 3 days later, Mason sent me an email. Not an apology. An invoice. He claimed I owed him $3,500. $800 for emotional distress. $900 for embarrassment. Moving expenses. Dating expenses. Transportation costs. Apartment deposits. He even included the rideshare from the date Paula had walked out on. At the bottom he wrote, "You ruined my reputation." I almost laughed. Instead, I replied, with a single sentence, "You repeatedly asked for nothing. You received exactly what you requested." Then I blocked his email address. I thought that would finally end everything. Instead, my phone rang the following evening. It was Mason's mother. "Hello, Patricia." She sounded exhausted. "Tessa, I owe you an apology." "You don't have to." "I do." She sighed heavily. "We raised Mason to believe people should anticipate what he wants. I stayed quiet. When he was little, he'd pout instead of asking for things. And we rewarded it. We thought it was cute. It wasn't." She gave a sad laugh. "No, it wasn't." She became quiet before continuing. "I knew about the watch." "You did." He showed me pictures weeks before Valentine's Day. "So he knew exactly what he wanted." "Yes. And he still refused to tell me." "I'm afraid so. I wish he'd simply asked." "So do I." Before hanging up, she said something I still remember. "Communication isn't romantic because it's mysterious. It's romantic because it's honest." That conversation healed something inside me. A month later, I met someone new. His name was Ethan. On our third date, I asked him, "What kind of food do you actually like?" He smiled without hesitation. "Italian." "Any favorite place?" "There's a little family restaurant downtown." "Friday." "I'd love that." No guessing. No hidden meaning. No emotional puzzles disguised as love. Just an honest answer. The relationship felt almost strange at first because it was so simple. If Ethan wanted something, he said it. If he didn't, he said that too. No one kept score. No one set traps. One afternoon, he looked at me across the table and asked, "Can I tell you something?" "Of course." "I've noticed you apologize before you've done anything wrong." I stared at him. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You don't have to earn peace with me." I nearly cried. Not because of what he said, because I realized how long it had been since someone made love feel safe instead of stressful. As for the refunded watch, I used the money for a weekend trip with my older sister. We spent 2 days hiking, laughing, eating terrible roadside pie, and leaving our phones in the hotel room. On the last evening, I uploaded one photograph, just a sunset over the mountains. The caption read, "Sometimes the greatest gift is believing people the first time they tell you who they are." Several mutual friends liked the post. According to one of them, Mason viewed it less than an hour later. I hope he finally understood what I had learned. Love cannot survive where honesty is treated like a guessing game. You cannot punish someone for believing your words while expecting them to ignore them at the same time. He wanted me to read his mind. Instead, I listened to his voice. That single decision ended our relationship. Looking back now, I don't think I gave Mason nothing on Valentine's Day. I gave him exactly what he had been asking for all along. The consequences of his own choices